Welcome to Absolute Trust Talk with your host, Kirsten Howe. Absolute Trust Talk brings you tips, tools, advice, and interviews to help you build a reliable knowledge base on estate planning, business, and finance to start preparing for your future today.
Hello, and welcome to Absolute Trust Talk. I'm Kirsten Howe. I am the host of Absolute Trust Talk, which is our podcast here at Absolute Trust Counsel. Usually I have a guest or I have one of my associate attorneys here with me, and for various technical and other reasons, we aren't able to make that happen today. But we're going to go ahead anyway, and you get just me. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you. I don't know. I have a celebrity estate plan that I want to talk about today because there are a few very important lessons I think we can learn from this one. And I'm talking about Richard Simmons, who, if you're my age, you remember he was very famous back in the day as an exercise and health and fitness personality. He had TV shows where he did what we used to call aerobics on TV with people. And he was very inspirational. He got a lot of people up and moving and caring about their health. And that was a kind of a new thing way back when. Anyway, Richard Simmons, he passed away in July of last year. And he had been a single person living in his home. He had a longtime caregiver, or I guess housekeeper really is what she was. A longtime housekeeper, something like 30 years. She had lived with him and helped him out. She was an employee. Her name is Teresa. Richard also had a brother. His name is Leonard, and Leonard was named his trustee, executor, administrator of his estate. Apparently, he named Teresa and Leonard as co-trustees of his trust. And after Richard died, pretty quickly after that, Teresa resigned as co-trustee. And then she came back, filed a petition in court saying, I didn't want to resign. I was coerced into resigning. So there's that issue is pending out there. Teresa, as I said, had been living in Richard's home with him for many, many years. And after he died in July, apparently she had to be evicted in September. I'm not sure about the details of that, but I'm sure that was not a pleasant experience for her. Now, what has happened is that the trustee, who is currently just Leonard, has filed an action against Teresa, claiming that she took a bunch of tangible personal property out of the home that she wasn't entitled to. And remember, she had been living there after he died for a couple of months. And apparently what Leonard is claiming is missing is worth about $1 million. And a lot of it was jewelry. And there was some other items, like some of his workout wear, other things like that, maybe a little bit of artwork. But I think the primary thing was his jewelry. So Teresa has claimed that she was given the jewelry like 10 years before Richard passed away in 2014. There's just allegations going back and forth. Leonard argued in a court document that there was some sort of a document signed by Richard that indicated that no, he actually still owned that jewelry at the time of his death, or at least at the time of signing that document. So there's, factual dispute as to whether the jewelry was given to Teresa many years ago or whether it was not and she stole it improperly when she left the house. So a whole lot of a mess going on there that we can learn a little bit from. What I would say the number one lesson that I pull out of this one is, and we've said this numerous times before on Absolute Trust Talk, it's usually not a good idea to name co-trustees, because any large estate in particular, there is a possibility that there's going to be trouble. Even in a small estate, there's a possibility there's going to be trouble. When you have co-trustees, you just really amplify that possibility. It's very difficult to get the work done, get it done efficiently. And if you have co-trustees who don't agree with each other or don't get along, it's going to be a mess. So number one, please consider don't name co-trustees. And here in this case, sort of one part A, I would say this was likely a large estate. I don't know how much value there was there, but I would have recommended a client like that to name a professional, name a trust company, name somebody who's just going to be impartial, get the job done. And it's a complex estate. There are allegations in there about a documentary that possibly Teresa was working on, possibly Leonard was working on. So there's some intellectual property, some name, image, likeness issues, just things that are more complicated than most of the rest of us have in our estates. And that seems like something better suited for a professional to sort out. So that's the main thing. Don't name co-trustees. Number two, I would say, and I hadn't thought about this much before, but if you are making gifts of very valuable, tangible property during your lifetime, it's not a bad idea to document that so that later on there's not a dispute, because those items, they don't have any ownership papers. There's not a pink slip for a diamond necklace. You've got to somehow document that, no, that's not mine anymore. I, in fact, did give that away. I think that's a good idea. No, and most people don't do that. But again, people who are wealthy have valuable jewelry and they can do that. And number three, this one does apply to many of my clients. If you have someone living with you in your home and they don't own the home, you have got to discuss that in your estate plan. So in this case, I don't know whether he did or not, but if Teresa had to be evicted, it sounds like there wasn't any provision for her, but there could have been a provision that said, my trustee has to give Teresa at least 6 months to move out of my house after my death. Something like that, something thoughtful and human. Those kind of issues have to be covered. Otherwise, the trustee's job is to get anybody who doesn't belong there out. And so a lot of hassle could have been avoided by that. So those are our lessons from the Richard Simmons estate. I hope some of it was helpful to you and that anyway, you enjoyed hearing it. So thanks for joining me today. And I look forward to connecting with you next time.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.
This podcast is not meant to take the place of legal advice from an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you do have a legal question or issue, please consult with an attorney.